There. I hit the button. We are live on YouTube. Tell me something, YouTube. Tell me if there's a dollar sign. Sorry I'm late. I was getting myself set up. Trying out a different camera and stuff. We want to make the show, now that we're official, the show we have to be like one of those live streamers with a good camera and everything in a fancy studio. Now, tell me seriously in the chat, once you get tuned in, if you see a dollar sign thing. No? Katie says? I'm supposed to be monetized. That's the reason for the title for this stream. The reason for the title of this stream, which says YouTube will regret this, is the fact that they monetized my channel. But if you guys don't have the dollar sign for super chats, then that means that something's wrong. I have news today, so if you're tuned in, I'll tell you I'm going to go over some news items. We have the end of the world stuff, nuclear annihilation and so forth, which you have to worry about. I don't know if I'm going to cover any economic news today. I have trans news. So that's a controversial topic. When you monetize something on YouTube, they ask you, are you talking about anything controversial? I was like, what's not controversial? Hunter Biden's going to get arrested. That's what I was going to try to have the AI make for the thumbnail, was Hunter Biden being led away in handcuffs. But the AI won't let you do that. The thumbnail for this video was created by AI. Interesting. So it doesn't work? Okay, well, maybe YouTube won't regret it. Because when I tried to monetize the video, it came up, I can say insert ad. I'm not going to insert an ad. I just pressed a button that said insert ad. Did that make an ad play? All right, let me check out my settings. I have it monetized, but maybe they already made it reduced monetization or something. It says limited. This video is running limited or no ads due to content not... Give me a break. Well, I got my channel monetized. I thought that meant that I would be able to get super chats and that they would make my channel huge like other successful YouTubers. But apparently not. We just found out. So somehow they still figured out just from the title, YouTube will regret this. They decided, oh, we're not going to monetize it. Okay, I get it. Well, there goes the whole purpose of this episode, which was to say that YouTube would regret monetizing me. But it turns out they didn't even really do that. Weird. But Nick Rekieta also got kicked off YouTube. So I'll give you the update on that. So I have news. Like I said, Hunter Biden, some trans stuff, some other things. I was going to talk to you about how it was weird that they monetized me on YouTube, but it isn't weird because they didn't, basically. I chose the title. All I did was title the episode. How did they know? Why did they bother? Well, it's good we have other techniques. Thank God. All right. Thanks, Mokshir. Who says sorry? Yeah, it is sorry. I was excited, kind of. I was like, oh my God, I'm a real person. I died and I was reborn as and I was going to do a new YouTube LARP where I was socially acceptable and could get super chats and stuff. And I was just going to see how that went. Alas. 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 All right. Well, we'll still talk about the news. I'll still play you guys some videos. No problem. We're not going to let it get us down, are we? Are we? All right. Cool. Nobleness D says it's just in time for World War III. Yeah, I have news about World War III. What do I want to hit you guys with first? Oh, yeah. I have signs that it's the end of the world. I have that maybe for you first. Let me hold on. I gotta make sure I get this show right. I'm thrown off because this was going to be my first show as a newly monetized YouTube content creator. And I made the AI create a picture of a YouTube content creator celebrating after being monetized. And that's what I used for the thumbnail. So that was what it was supposed to be today. And then you were going to just inundate me with super chats against my objections. I was going to say, don't give me super chats. Go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. But then people would anyway. This is what was going through my head. I was like, holy crap. I've spent all this time. I was like, oh, if only like my life would be different. I've thought to myself, because I go through trials and tribulations. Being a content creator, it's not all gravy and whatever other metaphorical items they use to say things are great. It's not all great. It's difficult, especially when they hate you. But I was trying. I was like, oh, I found out they demonetized me just not because of content in the first place. They demonetized me because I hadn't posted anything for a long time. So I was like, oh, fuck it. I'll just apply again. And I did. But this is what they give me, the mother effers. The system is so screwed. Nobody can make it. It's impossible for a regular person. I don't want to say that. That sounds like I'm fatalistic. All right, let's play the intro to the show. Let's get started with this thing. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is. Joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, that's right. I've been doing it every day, like every weekday, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can support the show, and actually YouTube. You can support the show, and we do work for super chats. But you do them through buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. And you can leave messages there for me. And you can do it anytime, even after the show's over. So, and I can just read them on the next show. So that's a great way to support the show. And they don't take 30%. They take something much less than that. It's really the most efficient way well, there are more efficient ways. Cash App is even better. Cash App is excellent, but people don't seem to want to download that app. Whenever I mentioned it before, but you can donate to that. And if you do, sometimes I do extra content for super chats. So we'll see. I'm going to show you, this is why people say we're living in the end times, basically. Summarized for you. So let me play this video. This is why this is the end. See if you get it. See if I don't have to describe it to you or anything.
I'm BDF, nigga, baby, daddy free. That mean I ain't got a nigga, baby, coming out of me. So I'm ABORTING. On my way to the clinic, I forgot the plan B. Let's go. Bitch, I got murder on my mind. Let's go. Bitch, I got murder on my mind. Let's go. Yeah, bitch, I got murder on my mind. Let's go. Murder. Bitch, I got murder on my mind. I forgot the plan B. Ain't no nigga cuffing me. You can't put me on the shelf, bitch. I'm outside with the team. All these bitches having babies. he wanna settle down. Niggas selling all these drinks. He got 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid, 4. Bitch, he cheap by the dozen. If it's that many more. And I'm only 25, got a couple years to go. I don't need a babysitter, cause this baby gotta go. It's a shortage on the milk, and them diapers be expensive. I ain't tryna be a milk. Swallow all the children. I got high tea in my blood, so you know I'm big.
I'm making you watch the whole thing.
Can't
believe that.
Now it's time to care for me. Rearrange the
The whole thing.
L's. I'm a peep. I be
Like you didn't get the idea already.
I can't breathe. CVS is in my Cuban, and my wrist is AP.
AP. Audemars Piguet.
Murder on my mind.
Murder on my mind.
Bitch, I got murder on my mind.
She's talking about killing babies.
Bitch, I got murder on my mind. I'm BDF,
Baby daddy free.
That means I ain't got a nigga, baby, coming out of me. So I'm ADORTING on my way.
And then she spelled idiot. Get that part? She's rich too. Wow, that's like almost pornographic. Well, and so offensive on so many levels. I mean, it's just so offensive. It's almost so offensive I can't even be mad at it because I think, oh, okay, well, that was really offensive. You know, props for that. At least, like, you want to make something. I am ABORTING right in front of the Planned Parenthood clinic. She said she doesn't have an N-word baby coming out of her, is what she said. I didn't say it. That's what this young lady said. This young lady said, I think she's 25, not ready to have a baby yet. So she's going to murder it. She said she had murder on her mind in front of the Planned Parenthood clinic. Yep. So that's it. I told you, right? That's the end of the world. That's why people are saying it is. Did I? You guys. Damn, I'm sorry, guys. The first video is always going to be bad. The double audio thing. Yeah, I made it worse even. Damn. Sorry about that. One of these days, we're going to have a show without technical issues. So there's that story. I'll play the other videos in the show that won't have double audio. I can't hear it. That's the problem. It sounds normal on my end. That's why I don't feel your pain. I was laughing at you too, making you watch that video. Sorry about that. All right, I want to show you though, that's one sign about the end of the world. And then there's another sign about the end of the world, which is I mentioned on the last show, or I mentioned on a show previous to this, that Planned Parenthood was advertising services for people to use puberty blockers, saying that they're safe. I didn't realize at the time that they're actually pushing it through YouTube ads. So YouTube ads right now are actually pushing to people. Like if I was able to run ads on my videos, which I guess I'm not, even though they said I could theoretically. So theoretically, if an ad ran before my video, it might show you that it's a good idea to get puberty blockers. I showed the video once. I'm going to show it again. Somebody just pointing out that they saw it while they were watching YouTube as an ad that came up, which means that it's not just that Planned Parenthood put the video on their YouTube page for people who might come across it. They're actually pushing it on people. So they're actually literally advertising puberty blockers to kids. So that's where we're at right now. And that is really, 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 really screwed up. This is the ad again. And like I said, the audio will be perfect.
And not others. And your body may or may not go through puberty on its own. There are medicines you can take to help your body start the process, like hormone replacement therapy. Some people decide on hormones or surgeries to help their bodies match up to their gender identity, or how they feel inside about themselves. Your gender identity is real, you should be the one to decide what changes you want to make to your body. If you're transgender or non-binary, you may find that your puberty experiences don't line up with your gender identity or how you see yourself. That feeling can be uncomfortable, scary, and stressful. If that sounds like you, know that you're not alone. There are medicines you can take to delay puberty for a while. They're called puberty blockers, and they work like a
There's medicine. There are medicines you can take to delay puberty for a while, and they're actually pushing this ad so that kids watching YouTube are actually running into this. This is really scary to me because, from what I understand, puberty blockers aren't safe, and they can result in things like permanently being sterile and stuff, not being able to have kids ever. Maybe I'm just hearing disinformation or something, but that's what I hear. That, and then a lot of kids that go on puberty blockers, they never go off. So anyway, I'll play more of this. Yeah, they say it's just like a stop sign, the puberty blockers. It's just as simple as just stop sign. No big deal. Like if you're confused about your gender and you're 12 when you're going through puberty, maybe 13, then you have the ability to decide whether to get on something that, from what I understand, costs tens of thousands of dollars per year if you want to get on hormone blockers. So why do you think they're advertising it? Planned Parenthood. First, you got the nice young lady who said she had murder on her mind with Planned Parenthood. And then Planned Parenthood has what on their mind? Trying to push this stuff on kids.
stop sign by halting the hormones testosterone and estrogen that cause puberty changes like facial hair growth and periods. Puberty blockers are safe and can give you more time to figure out what feels right for you, your body, and your gender identity. You don't have to have all of the answers right now. So remember, it's all a work in progress, and it may take time to figure out what feels right to you, but talking to a trusted adult and a nurse or doctor may help. Want to learn more? Go to PlannedParenthood.org/teens.
Yeah, I checked out that PlannedParenthood.org/teens. They're telling people, no matter what word you try to do, it seems like they're telling people that it's okay. Well, not just that it's okay, but that you are a different gender and that you should do these things that might not be reversible, really. I mean, they say puberty blockers are just a pause, but I'm not really sure that's how they work. They're not FDA approved. So people are talking about this issue, not just transphobes. There's an article about it today in Reuters from Reuters Investigates Youth in Transition. It's a Reuters special report that just came out. So I wanted to make sure to look at it. This is what parents are getting from official news organizations about whether they want to transition their children or not, basically, right? So the news, Reuters, wrote an article about it. As children line up at gender clinics, as more transgender children seek medical care, families confront many unknowns. That's what it says, and it shows a child with a pill on their tongue, which I guess is probably a puberty blocker or something. So it mentions that lots of people are lining up for gender affirming. And it says in the article that the stuff is not FDA approved. Puberty blockers, it says right here, puberty blockers and sex hormones do not have US FDA approval for children's gender care. No clinical trials have established their safety for such off-label use. Off-label, like ivermectin, right? Using ivermectin to treat COVID is off-label. And they said it's really dangerous and you better not do it. It definitely doesn't work. While gender affirming care with what they call puberty blockers is actually an off-label use for the medication, which I believe is used for prostate, like people with prostate cancer and stuff, to block testosterone or estrogen. That's what it was originally intended for, from what I understand. So those things are not approved, and yet I don't get this. How are they allowed to advertise these things to kids? It says in this article, the drug's long-term effects on fertility and sexual function remain unclear, as in you might not be able to have kids and you might not be able to have an orgasm after using these drugs. It says it's unclear. So how do they say in the ad? It says puberty blockers are safe. It also says in 2016, the FDA ordered makers of puberty blockers to add a warning about psychiatric problems after they found out people were suicidal after taking the drugs. So they do have a warning label that says you could become suicidal. They could have a warning label on becoming trans too that says you could become suicidal. And this article points out that basically what they've done is now when it says what happens to a family who has a child who had gender dysphoria from a very young age. Okay. And I do think there is a difference between kids who think that they're the other gender like forever and then what they call sudden onset gender dysphoria, which is where all of a sudden you think you're a different gender. So they have a kid in the story that thinks he's a different gender or thinks he's a girl and wants to identify as a girl, and the parents let their son identify as a girl at home, but then not out in public. That's what they say. But this kid really wants to identify as a girl. And what ended up happening is they took the kid to the doctor, and the doctor told the parents, oh, the kid might kill himself if you don't transition him. And they were like, holy crap, what are you talking about? They might kill themselves. So that's the way doctors approach this thing. And this is what I hear all the time is, oh, if you don't affirm, then they'll kill themselves. Like, that's it. That's why it's life-saving care. That's why they call it life-saving care, because otherwise they'll kill themselves. I mean, this is what, and then we've accepted that, and doctors have accepted it. And doctors are like, oh yeah, you got to do this. Otherwise, oh, they'll kill them. You know, you don't want that. So that's what they plant right in parents' head right away, even though the kid's not talking about killing himself or herself. They weren't talking about that, but the doctor brought it into the conversation like, oh, they might commit suicide if you don't affirm their gender, because this family was kind of not affirming it 100%. So that's the thing. But you could say, but then when you become trans, then people, that's what I don't get. But when you become trans, you're also more likely to commit suicide, statistically speaking. So for some reason, they push someone into something that has a high incidence of suicide and use the threat of suicide in order to do it. So anyway, Project Veritas got the main organization that pushes transgender health, the World Council on Transgender Health, or whatever they're called, WPATH, which is what everybody listens to about transgender health. And they caught the guy on tape saying, hey, some of these kids, they don't know what they're like. They can't consent, basically, because they don't know what it means to not be fertile or to not be able to have kids later. But a 14-year-old has no idea when they agree to do something that means they can't have kids, Well, they later on they regret it. So that's the story here. So this is a guy. So this is a story. This is a video from Project Veritas. Okay, I'll play it for you.
Some of the Dutch researchers gave some data about young adults who had transitioned and reproductive regret, and it's there. And I don't think any of that surprises us. I try to talk about it, but most of the kids are nowhere in any kind of a brain space to really talk about it in a serious way. That's always bothered me, but we still want the kids to be happier in the moment, right?
On Monday, October 3rd, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, and the Children's Hospital Association delivered this letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland, claiming increased violence against providers of transgender or gender-affirming surgeries due to disinformation. Now, this comes on the heels of Project Veritas receiving inside tape from within the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, feigning regret regarding their 14-year-old patients.
Last week at the Pediatric Endocrine Society, some of the Dutch researchers gave some data about young adults who had transitioned and reproductive regret, and it's there. And I don't think any of that surprises us. It's always a good theory that you talk about fertility preservation with a 14-year-old, but I know I'm talking to a blank wall. And the same would happen for a cisgender kid, right? They'd be like, ew, kids, babies, gross. Or the usual stock answer is, I'm going to adopt. I'm just going to adopt. And then you ask them, well, what does that involve? Like, how much does it cost? Oh, I thought you just went to the orphanage and they gave you a baby. No, it's not quite like that. I think now that I follow a lot of kids into their mid-20s, I'm always like, oh, the dog isn't doing it for you, right? Yeah, they're like, no, I just found this, wonderful partner and now we're kids and da-da-da. So I think, it doesn't surprise me, but I don't know still what to do for the 14-year-olds. The parents have it on their minds, but the 14-year-olds, it's like talking with diabetic complications with a 14-year-old. They don't care. They're not going to die. They're going to live forever, right? So I think when we're doing informed consent, I know that that's still a big lacuna of that we do it. We try to talk about it, but most of the kids are nowhere in any kind of a brain space to really talk about it in a serious way.
I'm going to look up lacuna. I never heard that word before. I have a pretty big vocabulary, relatively speaking. Lacuna, an unfilled space or interval. A missing portion in a book or manuscript. Oh, not sure what he means. Not even sure exactly what he means by that. I guess it's a gap in their understanding. But obviously, 14-year-olds don't know. They can't consent. So this is why this is a reason for it to not be allowed. Basically, if you can't consent because you don't understand what it means to not be able to have children forever because you're only 14, then it just shouldn't be allowed then, maybe, right? So I think we're on our way. Other countries that did allow transitioning for children have decided not to. In the UK, they shut down the institute that helped children transition. In the United States, we are right in the middle of talking about it. So I think there's a lot more talking to be done. And then we'll probably see it leak more into politics. Transgender care for kids. And in Florida, they don't cover it under their Medicaid. Puberty blockers, double mastectomies.
That's always bothered me, but we still want the kids to be happier in the moment, right?
Now, contrary to Dr. Metzger's own statements, the letter sent to the Department of Justice would consider any criticism or public review of these procedures as disinformation. Quote, providers of evidence-based gender-affirming healthcare and their colleagues are facing increased stress and fear. rooted in an intentional campaign of disinformation, where a few high-profile users on social media share false and misleading information, targeting individual physicians and hospitals, resulting in a rapid escalation of threats, harassment, and disruption of care across multiple jurisdictions, unquote. In her 2019 review of clinical research, Katrina Rowan, a professor at a New Zealand university, drew attention to a study that young girls between 14 and 19 were, quote, overwhelmed with information and finding it easier to switch off rather than engage with health professionals, unquote. In other words, young people are not equipped to fully understand the physical and mental ramifications of transition surgeries. Check out this news story about the Vanderbilt University Medical Center, where staff have been objecting to these procedures for children.
If you don't want to do this kind of work, don't work at Vanderbilt.
One video shows Dr. Ellen Clayton telling employees that it is, quote, problematic when they object to providing transgender care. Those treatments include hormones, puberty blockers, and surgery.
Saying that you're not going to do something because of your conscientious, because of your religious beliefs, is not without consequences. And it should not be without consequences.
The videos also show financial incentives, as one doctor gushed about how much the procedures bring in.
It's a lot of money. These surgeries make a lot of money. So female to male chest reconstruction can bring in $40,000. A patient just on routine hormone treatment, who I'm only seeing a few times a year, can bring in several $1,000s.
An internal training document from Vanderbilt Medical Center provided to Project Veritas describes surgeries available to children, including vaginoplasty and phalloplasty. Surgeons have been making big bucks marketing directly to teens as trendsetters, like Dr. Gallagher at her Miami medical practice.
You're only, 7 months on team.
You're 7 months and you got top surgery, bro. Where are you at, bro? What doctor? Send me the number.
The average cost of a gender transition is about $150,000, and the booming so-called trans tech industry is estimated, according to a 2020 Forbes article, to be worth a mind-boggling $200 billion. Needless to say, big pharma and big medicine are always on the lookout for a growing business. Project Veritas is asking you for your help in exposing medical wrongdoing. Send us a tip, veritastips@protonmail.com. And as always, give us a call. Be brave. Do something.
Be brave. Be brave means change genders, I thought. But in this case, be brave means whistleblow. So yeah, that's what's going on with transgender news. I told you it's kind of the end of the world, right? So that's the news I have from you from the end of the world. All right, let me go on and talk about some other things. I want to talk to you. Well, Hunter Biden, you guys heard? This is big news. I was going to go with this for the headline for the show before I went with YouTube. Will regret this. But Hunter Biden is actually maybe going to be criminally charged. So that's news, right? Hunter Biden, and it's broken by the Washington Post, of all places. So the Washington Post says Hunter Biden, federal agents see chargeable tax and gun purchase case against Hunter Biden. And the case is in the hands of a Trump judge now to decide whether to, or a Trump attorney to decide whether to bring charges against him. So there he is, Hunter Biden. Federal agents investigating Hunter Biden have gathered what they believe is sufficient evidence to charge him with tax crimes and a false statement related to a gun purchase, according to people familiar with the case. Next step is for the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, a Trump administration holdover, to decide whether to file charges. So apparently, according to this Washington Post reporter, Hunter Biden, the agents in the case, it says in here, agents determined months ago they had assembled a viable criminal case against the younger Biden, but it is ultimately up to prosecutors at the Justice Department to decide whether to file charges. So the agents in the case have decided that it is enough to file charges, which doesn't mean that a prosecutor is going to decide that it's enough, but it's in the hands of a prosecutor who was appointed by Trump, so it could happen. And Attorney General Merrick Garland has said that he is going to not interfere. He has made the statement that he's not planning to interfere with the Hunter Biden case. So it might actually go forward. So Hunter Biden might actually be led away. I was going to ask the AI to draw me a picture or to make me a picture of Hunter Biden being led away in handcuffs, but it won't do famous people. Dali doesn't, at least. So, but that is big news today. Oh, also, I have more end of the world news, actually. So that's the news about Hunter. All right. So it might actually happen. He might actually get charged. So, and I think Republicans are going to win in the fall too. I'm going to show you that. But check out this end of the world news. You guys worried about nuclear destruction? The U.S. government is stockpiling anti-radiation drugs. So check this out. This is an actual news story. The U.S. government spent $290 million on anti-radiation drugs because of Putin's nuclear threats. So we are getting ready, if you believe nuclear bombs are real. If you believe nuclear bombs are real, then we are closer. And we're closer because of something like, you won't believe this. You won't believe what Vladimir Zelensky just said. That puts us closer to war. So I'm going to play this for you. This is crazy. You won't believe this.
Що повинно робити НАТО? Унеможливлювати застосування Росією ядерної зброї. Але, що важливо, я ще раз звертаюсь до міжнародної спільноти. Як це було до 24-го? Превентивні удари, щоб вони знали, що з ними буде, якщо вони застосують, а не навпаки. Чекати ядерних ударів Росію, щоб потім сказати, ах, ти так, ну ось тримай від нас. Переглянути застосування свого тиску. Ось я вважаю, що повинна робити НАТО. Переглянути порядок застосування. Що повинно...
Unbelievable, right? That's crazy. I can't believe he says that. So yeah, that's going on too. Vladimir Zelensky saying crazy shit to his people. So I told you that you were going to hear that and you were going to think that that was crazy. So that's news. That means we are closer to nuclear war. Now, I'm just kidding. I know you don't understand Ukrainian. I'm just joking with you. He said, did you think that I was going to think you understood Ukrainian? I was just playing a prank on you. He said, apparently, preemptive strikes are needed so that they know what awaits them if they use nuclear weapons, not the other way around. So that's what he said. Sorry. He said, we need to preemptively strike Russia so that they know who's boss, basically. So we are getting closer. I mean, people are saying, oh, we're closer to nuclear war and stuff. You know what people are saying? The meme is that, you know, there's going to be if there's a big war with Russia, if that's what we're getting ready for, and they have a draft, people are saying that if you're not vaccinated, that you can't get drafted. So that's a rumor that's going around. People, if you're not vaccinated, then you can't get drafted. So it's just another benefit. And you know that Joe Biden just praised somebody from the Coast Guard who's going to get kicked out of vaccinated. That's still a thing. You still have to be vaccinated to get into this country for some reason, for foreigners, you know. Novak Djokovic couldn't play in the U.S. Open because we have stupid rules. Anyway, you heard what he said. You heard what he said. All right. I told you, check, you know, Kanye West wore a shirt that said White Lives Matter. And apparently, like, it's a huge deal. Bigger deal than I would have known. He wore a shirt which said White Lives Matter, which is just basically countercultural. That's it. I mean, it's just something to provoke people. And it's something that's not offensive when you think about it. There shouldn't be anything offensive about the statement White Lives Matter. It's one of those statements that should just be obvious, right? Just like Black Lives Matter. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. Like all people, you would hope, believe that lives matter. You might say all lives matter, but that's hate speech too. So Kanye West went out with Candace Owens to his fashion show, and he wore the shirt that said White Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, which the ADL says is hate speech. Well, apparently Adidas is thinking about breaking up with him over it. So I don't know if Kanye is having another one of his episodes. He also called out the Kushners today. He called out Jared Kushner today too. And said he likes Ivanka, but that not Jared. And he called out Josh Kushner, which I guess is Jared's brother. But anyway, Adidas has put their partnership with Kanye West under review. And Kanye West has been selling shoes for them like crazy too. And I found an article from Esquire about the incident, which it's amazing to me. Something that's a statement that has no evil meaning to it in and of itself. White Lives Matter. Something that should be unobjectionable is this article in Esquire says, yo, yay, you are a racist by proxy. This person, who I guess is a black person, wrote the article, said that they came around to Kanye West. They even bought some of his shoes, but now they just can't believe he said White Lives Matter, and that's so racist. And he's never going to support Kanye West ever again. But Kanye West, first of all, he's like not totally, he needs to be, it's artistic expression. I mean, it's like what an artist would do is offend people, do something controversial. I mean, it's kind of very much like what Kanye West does. I don't know why anybody would be surprised. And then what he did, wearing a statement that says White Lives Matter. I mean, how is that racist? How can you say it's racist? Unless you're going to say wearing something that says Black Lives Matter is racist. Like if it was a white person who wore Black Lives Matter, would that be racist? I don't think so. Oh, no, because it's important to point out that Black lives are more important, or more, that because Black people are more marginalized, you can't say White Lives Matter. So, yeah, that's what's going on with Kanye. I even have Candace Owens talked about it too. She said, if Black Lives Matter, we wouldn't abort so many Black babies. Then I played you the ABORTING video earlier in the show. But Kanye's the bad guy. Kanye's the bad guy. Kanye's the bad guy, not Planned Parenthood, not that rapper who's talking about murder. Kanye, because he wore a shirt that said White Lives Matter. So, all right, I want to check this out. I'm going to make a bet. I have decided to bet on this, on the elections. I'd say here, check this out. This makes me think that the elections are going to swing more in favor than people might think right now. The abortion thing got Democrats excited for a second, but I'll play you this clip and then I will tell you, I'm going to make a bet. I've decided I am going to make a wager because I do wager on elections. And I can get decent odds on one bet that I'm going to make, I think, today. But listen to this. This is about the elections coming up. how you might want to decide. And, you can gamble on politics. It's legal.
Been asking, polls ask, what's the most important issue to you? What do they say?
All right, so this is a new Monmouth University poll, came out yesterday. I shared this with our dear friend Eric Hall, who's the executive producer, because I thought this was really interesting here. Look, at the top of the list, extremely or very important, 82% said inflation. That's not so surprising. But the crime, look at that, crime at 72%, way up there, the second most important issue for the federal government to address. And then abortion, all the way down here at just 56%, basically tied with infrastructure at 57%, well within the margin of error of infrastructure. This split, with crime being so high and abortion being so low, was quite the shocker to me.
And abortion is an issue that Democrats have been focused on since the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. And you look specifically, Harry, at what people are searching for on Google in terms of a couple of these issues.
Yeah, so the crime and abortion, because both of those, their placement on that chart was surprising me. So I was interested, what are people searching for on Google? What is it that comes to their mind? So this is Google searches, crime versus abortion, the percentage among those who search for either. Look, around the time that Roe v. Wade was overturned in June, crime was just at 30% of all the searches that people were searching between crime and abortion. Abortion was at 70%. In May, again, abortion higher than crime. In July, it was basically tied. Abortion slightly higher than crime. But look now in September, crime 71% to just 29% for abortion. That is basically back to the pre-Roe v. Wade overturning sort of baseline, where we were back in April, where crime was making up 74% of the searches versus abortion at just 26%.
And this matters because when you look at these issues, which parties are doing better with them?
Yeah, so crime is an issue that Republicans love to talk about. You see it in a ton of their ads. Why? Because which party do you trust more on crime? Look at that. Republicans at plus 23 points over the Democrats versus abortion, where Democrats have a 17-point edge. Crime is basically the economy for Republicans. They love to be talking about the economy. They love to be talking about high inflation. They also love to be talking about crime. Democrats do not want to be in this ballpark. They want to be talking about abortion, which is the main focus of most of their ads. So the more that voters care about crime, the worse it is for Democrats.
Gallup asks a really interesting question, Harry. It asks people they poll, if the issue that is most important to you, whatever it is,
yes,
which party do you trust the most?
That's exactly right. You can say anything that you want to. If you're scared of clowns, you could say that's the most important issue. And on the issue that Americans say is most important to them, who do they trust more? They trust the Republican Party more to handle by a 48% to 37% margin. This is a huge gap, John.
It's a huge gap because when you look back historically, what does that tell you?
Yeah, so an 11-point gap, which is what we have right now. And I look at all the midterm elections going back since 46, midterm elections with a Democratic president. This 11-point edge is near the top. And look at all these years in which Republicans held this margin, this lead on the issue that's most important. And then look at the GOP House seats won. Obviously, we're not sure what's going to happen this year. But in all the other years that are anywhere close to this, look at that, 246 Republican House seats won, 247, 230, 242. And of course, you just need 218 for a majority. So if this election looks anything like this, if voters react in the way that they normally do, then Republicans are going to have a very good night come election night.
There you go. So that's something that I'm looking at. Because, like I said, I like to wager on politics. Right now, it's about 50-50 odds that the Republicans are going to take the Senate. So I'm thinking about that. But right now, I'm going to go with Kari Lake in Arizona. I'm going to go ahead and put a wager on Kari Lake in Arizona. I think because she's an election denier. They say they've hit her with the slur that she's an election denier. And she's still performing pretty well in the polls. Like, she's kind of ahead. She's a little bit favored. But yes, I'm going to go ahead and make a bet on Kari Lake to take it in Arizona. And right now you can get decent odds on that. She is favored. But it's 62 cents to win $1. Or 63 cents. So we're going to go ahead and take that. That's going to be our first pick for this year. So let me see. I'll see if I have any other news. Yeah, I do have some other news. I'll see if I got any Buy me a coffees. Let's see how long I've been on YouTube. Does it say? Okay, great. Thanks for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the support. People who do support the show. I really wasn't even gonna. Anyway, I appreciate it. I almost stopped streaming basically at one point. So I'm like back from the dead. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm monetized. But they took that away from me. But that's okay because I have Buy Me a Coffee. And nobody sent any coffees to stream. So that means you don't get any extra content. What can I say? Tabitha did get coffees between the last time. Thank you, Tabitha333. I really appreciate it. Thanks. And thanks, Rip the Veil, who also got a coffee between this one and the last one. If you want to see the show on YouTube, because I don't have to do it, buy me a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. And then when you do during the show, then I actually do extra content too. But today, what can I say? Let me check out Rockfin. Thanks on Rockfin. Thanks, Billiam, for the tip on Rockfin. I really appreciate it. And thanks, Homegoy, who says, I appreciate your consistency. Sold my home in Philly, now in rural Maryland. Folks here are based in rural Maryland. That's cool. Say hi to Kate for me. Okay, I will, Homegoy. Thanks, Homegoy, for the tip. I appreciate it. Yep. Thanks, everybody who tips. The show is, I do work for Super Chats, basically, because I do research all day long on the show. So you can support the show with those things, which I told you about. I won't extort you. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Good to see you. If you want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil or buy one of our t-shirts. I have on our most popular, or one of our most popular designs right now, our propaganda shirt. If you go to truthclothing.io, you can check out a t-shirt. I'll give you an ad. That's what I will do. Check out truthclothing.io and you can check out our shirts while we still have them in stock. So check them out. Truthclothing.io. Yeah, that's our propaganda t-shirt. I have on the propaganda baseball tee right now. And we also have our question everything stuff. All available at truthclothing.io. That's our little business. Yeah, buy some shirts from us. We appreciate it. And you can get your Nassim shirts, question everything shirts. Check it out. Truthclothing.io. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Good to see you. And we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Right here on YouTube, Rockfin, and on DLive. All right. For now, that is what it is.